This topic right here, bro, is it seems to stir people up for some reason. It has in the near past, and it seems to be doing so now. And that is this talk of whether or not Christianity is a religion. And what do we do about that? There's some people that say, what's the famous mantra? I'm not religious. What they say? I'm in a relationship.
I'm spiritual.
Right? Or I'm not religious. I'm spiritual. Something like that. One of those where in their minds, in a Christian context, it's I got Jesus, but I don't have those external rights, that baggage, that hypocrisy. I don't have any of that. Keep that away from me. But what I do have is this personal, spiritual connection to Jesus himself that I enjoy within myself, by myself, maybe with a couple other people that feel the same way. I think that's fair to say. And so, we understand why people feel that way, but I guess it's just good to talk about, one, let's define religion. Is it, after defining it, can we have it? Is it a good thing? Did Jesus promote it? Did he fulfill it? Did he not? Should we throw it away? What things to throw away? What things to keep? What things distract from Jesus? What things do Jesus fulfill? All of these are in that bag of this topic. Is religion good for us? Do we get rid of it to highlight Jesus? All of this. And so what is that provoking you, my good sir, when you hear these things?
Couple things. I think that the conversation has to start with what you're saying, what religion is, what we mean when we say religion. For example, our good brother, Kirk Franklin, did an album, I want to say not last year, I think the year before, 2019, called Losing My Religion. And he received a lot of backlash from the church and confusion from the world. And I think confusion actually both in the church and in the world. Jefferson, I think Bethke, some years ago, did this a spoken word that was a viral, it was like a phenomenon at the time. Yeah, where a spoken word piece. He wrote a book. Jesus is greater than religion. So you're right. It is kind of a common idea, quote that has, become even increasingly more, the more individualistic we become, more pervasive in our culture, church culture, Christian culture, culture at large. Mm-hmm. And so I think that to properly define what it is and what we mean when we say it is important. One of the things that Kirk had to do was when he went on a lot of his mainstream interviews, a lot of his interviews really just all over, was he had to clarify, what do you mean you lose by saying that you lost your religion? Are you saying that you walked away from Christianity? And so I think that's really where we need to kind of clearly define what we mean. So I would start with saying that I'll keep telling this story because I guess that'll really help people to connect as well. Yeah. When Kirk and I talked around that time, one of the things that we kind of ended up talking through was how the Bible talks about religion, because the Bible talks about religion in a couple of different ways. Mm-hmm. The prophets spent a lot of time kind of addressing empty religion. I think Jeremiah, one of these prophets, talks about worthless religion. Yeah. Jesus was very hard on the Pharisees and religious leaders. Mm-hmm. Because he even rebuked them harshly referring to them, calling them whitewashed tombs.
Yeah.
Because there was this, ongoing hypocrisy, this where, they were pretending, there was pretension, they were pretending to be pious, and religious on the outside, when inside they were, really, what's we're looking for? They were really doing it with in an ostentatious way. They were just performing these religious acts in order to gain, approval, or what's what I'm looking for? Be affirmed by people, get the applause of men. Oh, look how spiritual. Oh, look how, so Jesus says, Matthew 6, don't do that. Don't do that. Don't pray out loud so that people can, don't fast and look sad so that people can say, oh man, that's what spirituality is. That's what true piety is. Yeah. And so Jesus harshly rebuked them. So I think that when people say they're not religious, that's what they mean, right? When people who are like a Kirk, I would say, I think that what they are trying to say is that they're not, that they are equally as disgusted with empty religion as Jesus was, or worthless religion as Jesus was. Mm-hmm. And in the book of James helps us with this. He provides for us the flip side of this. He says, here's what true religion looks like. Healthy religion, good religion looks like, taking care of the orphans and the widows. Something that you and I talked about when Jesus says, not yo, but you know what I'm saying. what Jesus said.
What's that in Greek, man? How you say yo?
I know, that's what I'm trying to think. I'm trying to think yo in Greek. But when Jesus says, when I was hungry, you fed me. I was thirsty, you gave me a drink. The disciples said, wait. When did this happen? He says, when you did this for the least of these, my brother. When I was in prison, you came to visit me. When you did this to the least of these, my brother. This is good religion. It's healthy religion. Mm-hmm. And so I think that what we have to do in this conversation is start with this dichotomy, that religion in and of itself doesn't seem to be a problem so much as worthless and empty religion seems to be the problem. But there is a category for healthy and good religion that Jesus actually, and that the Bible actually encourages. So that's my opening statement, my initial thoughts. Yeah.
No, that's good, bro. I think that's good because, the knee-jerk reaction of us, at least I can sort of speak for the, just the, what my friends from the Being Lutheran podcast call it, just the generic American church. Sort of our knee-jerk reaction is, when we see something that we don't like or that we want to improve upon, we sort of swing to the other extreme. We swing the pendulum all the way super hard in the other direction. And oftentimes we throw the baby out with the bathwater, as they say. And you're right. So when we do that, we take this word religion, right, which is a general word that's neither good nor bad. It's neutral. It's just a word, religion. Just a random cursory Google search says the belief, this is what religion believes to somebody that entered it in on Google. It says the belief in and worship of a supernatural human controlling power, especially a personal God or gods, ideas about the relationship between science and religion, a particular system of faith and worship, the pursuit or interest to which someone ascribes supreme importance. Right. So that's just a generic description of what religion is. Right. So no moral judgment on what the word means. It means this kind of stuff. You know what I mean? So then we jam pack that word with all the stuff that makes us mad, and some rightfully so. Hypocrisy, being whitewashed tombs, on the outside looking pristine and clean, but on the inside you're dead, right? Yeah. And we sort of throw all that we detest, or all the ways in which we believe we're seeing contradictions from what God is asking us to do on a horizontal level between us and our neighbor. All those things that are fragmented and broken and contrary to God's idea, when we see those things in the church, harmful things, things that do hurt people on a personal level and others, we throw that all under the word religion. And we say, because we don't like those things and we've come to know them in the context of a religious space, therefore religion is bad. But we know we can't do that to Jesus, so we try to keep Jesus, right? So Jesus is good. He's the good guy. He's not mean. He's not, a hypocrite. He does what he says. He keeps his promises. We want him. He offers us heaven, grace, forgiveness. So we want him, but we don't want the things that are surrounding him, the things that sort of are the functionality of what comes with being affiliated with him, his people, and his stuff. And so in the generic American church, that's kind of how we think about the word religion, what it's filled with, what it's jam-packed with. And then we start to speak about it abroad. And then when non-Christians are critiquing the church, offering their assessment of Christianity, and then now in our contemporary context, there's this social element in which people are, and in many ways, rightfully so, we're all sensitive to the atrocities heaped upon Black and brown people from a collection of white people, not all white people, but a collection of white people at a certain time period who use Christianity in a unique way. And then there's some who follow in that strand even to today, unfortunately, not all, but some. And so we say now with this social aspect, see how they used religion. They took this book called the Bible and they used it to twist Paul's words to say you should stay in slavery. You should submit to your master if you are a slave. You see how religion has done that? And then as non-Christians are saying that to us in an effort to affirm something that's sort of accurate, sort of, true, not fully, but in a sense, it's true in the sense that it was done to, Black slaves. But it's not true in that isn't the sum total of what religion is.
Yeah.
But when they communicate it to us, they say religion did this. Religious, and in particular, religious Christians did this.
Yes.
And in our effort to say, you're right, you're not crazy, we agree, we therefore use their same definition, and our same definition becomes the same. And we say, you're right, religion is bad. Religion did do that. That's why I promote a relationship. I have a personal relationship with God. And then we go off into defining that uniquely. Some people, I call myself a follower of Yahweh. I call myself just a follower of Christ. And we all sort of get these new ways to get at how to define us as people who are cool with Jesus, but not cool with his stuff, his rites, rituals, and where people gather, right? The church, as some might know it is. So that's sort of what, is an unfortunate mishandling of words, mishandling of categories that we have in our American contemporary context that does something sneaky. It does something very sneaky when we keep the wrong definition of the word religion, or when we don't know the distinction between worthless religion and true religion. Something sneaky happens, and that is we sort of give the green light for people to overthrow Christianity altogether, when really all we wanted to do was show them how cool Jesus was and how good he is. But we use their language, their categories to talk in, to think in, and then we sort of give them the permission to dismiss us altogether. And we want to say, wait, no, but remember that I told you about Jesus? And by that point, we may have lost their ear and their attention because we've given them the green light to go further than we intended. And that's the unfortunate, sneaky things that happen when we don't slow down and consider good religion, true religion, biblical religion, when we don't acknowledge the fact that Jesus was religious. He fulfilled religious laws in his righteousness, in his perfect, sinless life. He's fulfilling Old Testament laws so that we can inherit his righteousness, a foreign righteousness, a righteousness not of our own. That's what we get because of Jesus's religion. We get gospel forgiveness because of Jesus's religion. That's just one example among many that we sort of forget is packaged in the true understanding of what religion is. You feel me?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely, bro. Like, I think, man, I think it's so many layers to this, because you look at religion is a thing that has just become guilty by association, you know. And I think that obviously it's unfair. It is understandable, but it's unfair and it can be unhealthy. And I think that one of the things that really makes it unhealthy is the fact that the disconnect when a person decides I'm not religious, typically, although what they mean to say, and I guess this is what we want the takeaway to be. We want the takeaway to be, I go in the opposite direction. I steer clear of worthless, empty religion. That's really what, if there's anything we want you to take away from this, one key point here is we steer clear of empty religion, not religion as a whole. And I guess to that, is there a category for a religion that is not empty? Now, the challenge that people are going to have is we would actually have to do the work of convincing people, which that's what people feel like they don't want to fight for. People are like, I'll fight for Jesus. Yeah. I don't want to have to fight for religion.
Yes. Yes.
Because in order to embrace this idea, you have to kind of be prepared to fight this fight. Just say, no, actually, there's not, there actually is something good about religion. To say that in this climate, yeah. That's a lot that people don't want. They don't, right? Because there's kind of this disconnect between religion and Jesus. They're like, I'm not fighting that fight.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Facts.
But that's why it's important for us to understand, for us to begin this conversation of there is no separation between Jesus and religion.
Yes.
Right. That those are synonymous. Jesus and good religion are synonymous. Again, Jesus, good religion is siding with the weak and caring for the marginalized, the outcasted, the broken, serving and meeting the needs of those who are less fortunate, etc. If that is religion, there's no way, healthy religion or good religion, there's no way to kind of distinguish that from Jesus. We have to hold those two things to, you follow me?
Yeah, facts.
Right. He embodies that. Okay. So I think that it's important that we that we understand the fact that there is something good about religion. Here's what's good about it. Aside from, because I have to break religion down into kind of like two tiers. One is everything I just mentioned. It's the caring for the oppressed, etc. But then there's another piece to this puzzle, which is, and here we go.
Yeah.
You're up.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's another piece to this puzzle, which is the side of religion that has to do with systems, because that's actually in the definition. Systems, rituals, rites, you understand? Traditions. These are also component, the pieces that make up the religious puzzle.
Yes.
You see what I'm saying?
Yep.
And so that also is something that we have gotten far away from right? For the reasons you mentioned earlier. When we think tradition, because Jesus says, you teach the traditions of men as if they are the commandments of God. So automatically we do with tradition what we did with religion.
Yes.
We demonize all tradition.
Unfortunately.
Unfortunately.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? So in the same that we demonize religion, we vilify tradition.
Facts.
Right. So what ends up happening is all this stuff gets stripped, like Christianity ends up getting stripped of all of these external pieces that are actually contributors to what is a part of giving us a sense, telling us something about the nature, pointing us back to God.
Yes. Yes.
You see what I'm saying? Like,
yes.
Like these are the very pieces. I know, like in the Black church, right? In the Black church, there's still a sense, well, in the Catholic church, this is a thing, right? There are, crosses that are hanging up there. Christians sometimes look at that and basically say, throw it away. He ain't up there no more.
The Lutheran church too. You mean crosses with Jesus on it?
Yeah,
well, what you mean?
That's what I mean.
Yeah,
yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah, because you got crosses bare, and then ones with Jesus on it,
and they throw it away, right?
Yeah, bing, yeah.
So you say throw it away, right?
Yeah.
I mean, but in the Catholic Church, right? And even I know in certain AME churches, even they wear, vestments, which you see what I'm saying? Like or in the Pentecostal church or Apostolic church, they wear robes, but the colors are purple and gold. Okay, what is all of this? Why am I saying all of this? I'm saying this because these are actually this is Old Testament stuff, that somebody can easily just say, we're in a new covenant now. There's no need for all of these traditions, and we could throw all of that away. Everything just point to Jesus, right? But there is something to that. It's something about the purple and gold that once properly understood, you're reminded of, so the reason why purple was such an important color in a certain context was because it represented royalty. You see what I'm saying? Like this was a color, this had theological significance at one time, but we threw it away because it wasn't, it didn't necessarily fit into our cultural context, and it's Old Testament. So get rid of it. So I think what ends up happening is we start getting rid of all this stuff, the rites, the rituals, the traditions that actually, although obviously some of them have been abused and misused, in so many other ways, those very same traditions are necessary, a necessary part of us having a sensory connection to who God is.
Yes.
So I love that.
I love that, bro. You think about a few more things. You think of Christians meeting on certain days to hear God's word. You think of Christians gathering to witness a baptism, by which God, brings a man to life. You know what I'm saying? You think of the Lord's Supper. You think of all of these external rites that have true biblical meaning, where God is applying grace. You think of praying. You think of fasting. All of these ritualistic, good, holy, and sanctioned things by God that you either knowingly or unknowingly dismiss when you give religion a bad rap, because you may not be aware that what you need to say is bad religion or worthless religion or empty religion. You need to add that qualifying word so that you can signal to people that you're not against Jesus, his church, the practices that he gave us to keep. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. You need to signal to people that even some man-made customs, right? People say that man-made, even some things useful. That we're free to implement that would also point us to our holy and righteous God and what he's doing for us. Those things can be useful, right? If it's Sunday school, right? There's nothing in the Bible that says you have to have a class before the preach word or else, right? But we use it as a space and time to further undergird in children's hearts, teenagers, adults alike, God's word, God's mind on reality, God's mind on a human experience, his words as to understanding who he is, who the nature of his being, the nature of our being, the condition of the human frailty, how we get made right with God. Like all of these things happen in that designated time period, in that classroom that has been called Sunday school by some, that is an external ritual that isn't Bible, but it is pointing towards, does not offend or contradict Bible, nor are we saying that that rite or that ritual gives us righteousness or holiness or makes us right with God. It's just okay to do. You know what I'm saying? So it's like a better way forward if we are thinking about talking to our non-Christian friends and we want them to know that we affirm some of their observation. You know what? My non-Christian friend, you're right. Christianity, in its broadest sense, made up of a mixed bag of believers, false believers, right? Ugly things have happened and will continue to. And to the extent that I'm in that mixed bag, I acknowledge you're right. And if it means anything, you know, on behalf of those who would never want that to happen underneath Jesus's umbrella, forgive us. You know what I'm saying? That was a hideous misstep in this way, in this way, in this way. But good religion, let's read James 1:26. He says, if anyone thinks he is religious and does not bridle his tongue, but deceives his heart, this person's religion is worthless. Religion that is pure, to my non-Christian friend, but however, religion that is pure and undefiled before God the Father is this: to visit the orphans and widows in their affliction, and to keep oneself unstained from the world. So there's this moral component that also breaks in to true religion, good religion, Jesus's religion, that deals with how we exist in our bodies, with our sexuality, with our intelligence, you know, with our creativity, with our imagination. There's moral rules, if you will. God's holy and good, righteous law is religious. The very fabric of existing as a Christian is religion. We want good religion. We want Jesus's religion. We want to highlight, you know, the things that he values in how we live among our neighbor. That's what we want to say to our non-Christian friends. We don't want to say to them, throw religion out altogether, because in essence, you have to get rid of Jesus if you do so by definition. But to your point earlier, people that aren't thinking that deeply are not trying to say that. They do want you to hang on to Jesus. They do want to highlight how he's not a hypocrite. He is a good father. He's not like a harmful father who abuses his children. He's patient. He's slow to wrath. He's slow to anger. We want you to stick around him because he created you. He loves you enough to die on a cross for your sin, to resurrect from the grave after having lived the perfect life. Like we want you to know these things, but in a more careful way, we ought to be careful to not dismiss the things Jesus values highly and then forget that we're injuring him when we speak against religion. because we love Jesus too.
Yeah.
We don't want to injure him or his reputation or his way. You feel me? So much more could be said, man. I pray that this is received well, because we're given the benefit of the doubt that when people are saying religion, we're hoping they exclusively mean bad religion.
Bad religion, yeah.
You feel
and
me?
just remember it, that Jesus and religion, contrary to what we have been, what has become our mantra, Jesus and religion are not at odds. They are not enemies.
Amen.
They are not mutually exclusive. In fact, they are complementary. In fact, they are one and the same.
Beautiful, beautiful. Well said, bro. And to drag this on just a little longer, I want to read you 2 paragraphs on the church and ceremonies. Here we go. It says, our churches teach that ceremonies ought to be observed that may be observed without sin. Also, ceremonies and other practices that are profitable for tranquility and good order in the church, in particular, holy days, festivals, and the like, ought to be observed. Yet the people are taught the consciences are not to be burdened as though observing such things was necessary for salvation. Colossians 2:16-17. They are also taught that human traditions instituted to make atonement with God, to merit grace, and to make satisfaction for sins are opposed to the gospel and the doctrine of faith. So vows and traditions concerning meat and days and so forth, instituted to merit grace and to make satisfaction for sins, are useless and contrary to the gospel. I wanted to read that to affirm people who are bucking up efforts to add things to our salvation, and they put that in the bag with religion. We want to say also put that in the bag with bad religion. When people add external rites and religions, rituals to give something to our righteous or bank account, it cannot offer anything in that regard either. Bang.
Yeah, complicated-ish.
We out.